Top 10 Creepypastas that will test your courage. 10. The Abandoned Hospital. In 2009, a Japanese TV crew goes to a haunted hospital to explore, saying that it is a popular place for teenagers to hang out and ghost hunt, and also a hot place for catching spirits in photos. The reporter interviews a man who claims that he and some friends went into the hospital to test their courage and take photos, but they soon encountered bizarre circumstances and one of them was injured. The noticeably scared reporter agrees to explore and begins poking around the hospital. She begins taking photos as she wanders the dark halls. She soon, however, finds the camera that the kids dropped during their own visit. As she looks through the images, she begins to see strange things appear in the frame. Suddenly, she lets out a blood-curdling scream. The video then explains that they were able to later slow down the footage, and spotted a ghostly nurse standing in a doorway, reflected in a mirror. After the reporter's screams, the cameraman goes off on his own, only to encounter a ghostly surgeon holding what appears to look like a baby covered in blood and screams. The footage repeats but slowed down. The Russian Sleep Experiment, a staple of best creepypasta lists everywhere. The title of the story itself carries with it a sense of dread and horror. Shortly after World War II, 5 political prisoners are subjected to an experiment in which they have to remain awake for 30 days in a tank filled with an experimental gas. As with most science gone wrong stories, the test subjects begin to lose their minds among a number of other gruesome symptoms. The horror does not end when the experimenters try to save their subjects, far from it. Just know that this story may not be appropriate if you are squeamish or dislike gore, as the narrative goes into graphic detail about the physical state of the patients. Thankfully there are no pictures, or this would be the ultimate nightmare fuel. 8. Okiku. As the story goes, Okiku was purchased by a young man sometime around 1918 in Japan, as a gift for his younger sister. Tragically, after a year, the little girl passed away from a severe case of the flu. The family created a shrine in her memory, placing the large doll on display. Sometime later, they noticed the doll's hair, which had originally been cut in a short bob, had grown past its shoulders. When the family moved in 1938, they entrusted the doll to the care of the Meninji Temple in Hokkaido, where caretakers continue to maintain Okiku and her ever-growing hair. 7. Jeff the Killer. If you've never laid eyes on the infamous image of Jeff the Killer before, consider yourself lucky. The basic story concerns Jeff, a serial killer who hides in the closet and whispers "go to sleep" to its victim before slaughtering everyone in the household. Even more disturbing than his MO is his appearance. His face is smooth and stark white, a huge grin and small lidless eyes. He is one of the most easily recognizable creepypastas, with his eerie stare posted across forums. His origin story involves a fight that resulted in a chemical burn on his face and caused him to suffer a mental break. Soon after, he murdered his family and disappeared into the night to make guest appearances in your nightmares. 6. The Smiling Man, Indrid Cold, also known as the Smiling Man, is a human-like cryptid, which originates as a modern urban legend on the internet. Many have speculated that Indrid Cold might be related with the infamous Mothman. The personality of Indrid Cold or the Smiling Man differs between sightings. Indrid Cold's experiences with the salesman and John Keel paint him as a non-malevolent alien who means no harm to anyone and even presumably helps them be safe by warning them of future disasters. However, his experience with the two boys and the family sighting make him out to be a creepy and possibly paranormal stalker, but nothing much more, not seeming to do any other sort of harm to people. The creepypasta version introduced in the Reddit post introduce him as a very creepy and clearly insane person who behaves very erratically, dancing around randomly and staring at the sky. This version is a full-on stalker, pursuing the author for no apparent reason. Due to the personality contrast between this man and Indrid Cold, and the fact that he does not seem to be alien or ghostly in origin, it's very likely that this man is a separate entity from Indrid Cold, only sharing the titular creepy grin. 5. Username 666. Username 666 refers to a gruesome pasta video by a Japanese visual artist Piropito, also known as his YouTube username Nana825763. The video shows what supposedly happens when one searches for the username 666 on YouTube and then refreshes the page a couple of times. Slenderman. Before this pale, faceless ghoul had his own movie and video game series, he haunted the forums of the internet with his finely pressed suit and unnaturally long limbs. The Slender Man's story is not a narrative one, but a pseudo-historical look at this monster's history with humanity that is tied into several other creepypastas. Typically, the Slender Man preys on children and those who become obsessed with his existence, though no one knows exactly what happens to the bodies since no one has ever escaped from an encounter with him. Suggested stories featuring the Slender Man include the Tall Man and the Marble Hornets videos. 3. Where the Bad Kids Go. Much like Candle Cove, this is about a half-forgotten children's TV show. Whilst living in Lebanon as a child, the writer would see a show on the children's channel every day, only understanding some of the Arabic, filled with unsettling images and forced lessons like bad kids stay up late or bad kids take things that aren't theirs. It would always end with a slow zoom on a rusted, bolted door in the corner with the text, "This is where the bad kids go." Years later, as a photojournalist, the writer remembers the show and finds the burned-out studio it was filmed in, including the door where the bad kids went, and discovers what lies behind it. There isn't a big surprise at the end, but knowing just where the story is taking you adds to the horror. 2. Smile Dog. If there's any story on this list that best captures the message "be careful what you wish for," Smile Dog is it. The creepypasta deals with an image posted on an old bulletin board system back in 1992 called smile.jpg. Those who saw the image either disappeared or died, save for one Mary E., who the narrator goes to interview. What he eventually learns is that some things, even simple pictures, are better left as mysteries than dealing with the horrifying truth. In case you were wondering, the story does come with an accompanying image, but you may not want to see it after reading the full story. Though, in the end, you may not have a choice. 1. Robert the Doll. Not for the faint of heart, Robert the Doll really exists. The myths surrounding him vary, especially since he became so popular on the internet. The doll was given to artist Robert Eugene Otto in the late 1800s or early 1900s by his grandfather while he was on a trip to Germany. The doll, which he named after himself, then took on a life of its own and began to scare the family. Otto is said to have kept his doll into adulthood, and it subsequently led his late wife to insanity. The doll is currently residing in the Fort East Martello Museum in Key West, Florida. Visitors must ask Robert politely if they want to take his photo. If they mock him or take his photo without permission, Robert is said to lay a curse on them. Although, according to David L. Sloan, an author and ghost expert from Key West, he believes that it's dangerous to ask for Robert's permission, because if you ask an entity for permission, you're basically asking for trouble, and he says just be respectful. In these 3 videos, paranormal activity can be seen happening around Robert.
Okay, this is Robert the Doll, East Martello. We just had the plastic cover taken off. Now let's see something. You know, it's pretty... You can tell when I'm nervous. My hand's just shaking like a son of a bitch right now.